Hey guys, so I have decided to keep on filming here because I actually really like it, and that's just going to be the background for a bit. I get burnt out from like working in the same spot of my house, so I just need to always like switch things up so I don't get too bored. Hopefully that's okay with everyone. Subscribe with all.com for engagement. Today we're talking about a author who had essentially a meltdown and went on to harass a reviewer because she criticized his book. That's what we're talking about today. But also regarding authors, books, booktube, etc. I actually have revived my book channel, and I've pre-filmed a bunch of content, so I'm not just like lying about me posting on there. I will be posting on there, and I've just posted a video literally like a day or two ago, so that'll be in description if you guys need to find it and all that stuff. Anyway, this is an article by Distractify, and I was actually tagged in this on Twitter. So if you guys ever have any stories, do send them to me and I'll try and kind of like cover it. If I don't, maybe I don't know, didn't see or something, but please do tag me and stuff if you do want me to cover certain things. And yes, this one's on Distractify. This is the one that was sent to me. So horror author Matt Shaw had a meltdown when a reviewer said he couldn't write women well, which is an issue. And I feel like it works both ways. Like, I've criticized female authors before for not being able to write like a realistic man, mainly when they're doing like straight relationships. Like, I just think there's a way of making it sound like a man, and there's a way of making it sound like a man written by a woman. And sometimes a man written by a woman is amazing, but I want him to sound like a man. I don't want him to sound like a woman pretending to be a man. I don't know. There's definitely something to that. Why is my fringe so weird? Let's get a bit of fringe going in there. And I think the same can apply the other way around, where a man isn't capable of writing from the tone of a woman. And I think there are certain authors who do it really well. There are definitely some authors that are amazing at writing characters that they are not themselves, like researching into a character, researching how to write like this character, researching like, you know, what these people behave like, talk like, etc. And that goes for so many different things. Like, I think, for example, let me just look up, Taylor Jenkins Reid is amazing at writing from the point of view of a character who she is not. She writes historical fiction that sounds like it could be non-fiction because she just researches so much into these topics that she starts to become like an expert, and she sounds like these people. I think Emily Henry also writes amazing books like that, where she just is able to talk in any tone of voice. Some people, like Matt Shaw here, clearly are not good. I actually want to look up Matt Shaw. I've never heard that name before. Matt Shaw. He's a published author of over 50 stories, and although he's known as a horror author, he also enjoys spending time in other genres too, something I'd always planned to do. So there's actually a Reddit post about this, and I didn't see it before this. The fuss with Matt Shaw. Can we talk about the fuss with Matt Shaw? He got into it with a review on Goodreads, and people are feeling all sorts of ways, opinions. And someone said, is this why there's so much drama with him? I was wondering why everyone was hating on him all of a sudden. Authors are also obsessing over their Goodreads reviews, and this is coming from an author. Reviews are for readers, not for writers. And I've actually seen that before, because I've seen many people on BookTube say that once they get to a certain size, they give a book a not glowing review, and the author will like reach out to them or try and seek them out. The review is not for the author. I mean, you can, as an author, if you have some self-awareness and kind of almost like you can distance yourself from your works and you can take that on, I think reviews are great to read and figure out kind of what works, what doesn't work. But if you're so attached to your work, to your art, that you can't, like I said, detach, create some distance there, please don't read reviews, because they are for other people to know if they're going to enjoy this book or not. They're not for you to complain and argue, you know? Anyway, someone said, I agree, authors really shouldn't respond to reviewers unless it's privately and respectfully. I don't even think they should be responding privately. Like, that is such a, what were my hands doing there? I think even privately is creepy. Like, if I buy your book and I review it, that is it. I paid money for this book, I read it, and I have the right to review it. Do not reach out to me. That is so weird. Mainly when it's a negative review. I think if it's a positive one and someone says, oh, thanks for the review, like, I think that's one thing. Or if an author is like, hey, I heard you really enjoyed this one of my books, I have another one coming up, would you like to read it? Perfectly fine. Or even, hey, I saw your negative review, I have this other book that you might enjoy more. Like, maybe this one wasn't for you. So yeah, maybe do reach out, but sometimes I think there's just no way to do it respectfully. Anyway, thank you. Matt Shaw even tweeted years ago that authors shouldn't engage with reviewers, and if they feel the need to defend their writing, they should get thicker skin. Paraphrasing. So why has he completely changed? It's actually scary how much he's harassed as this reviewer. I am in for a treat. I actually haven't read this article. I like to do this with you guys, where if the only basis for my video is an article, I like to kind of almost leave myself in the dark as well. I just like to kind of like vaguely research into it, and then we can both have a shock and surprise and but if it's a more planned video, then yeah, I would have probably read the article by now. So someone said, I think it's ironic that she's claiming misogyny about a fictional work and yet actively follows and supports and adores Matty Healy. I mean, you can have blind spots and blinders in a certain area and still be able to criticize something else without, you know what I mean? Like, yes, it's hypocrisy, but you know. But someone said his response is to an IG reviewer that left a 1-star review on a book she admittedly didn't read. Now she has her fans going to his Goodreads and attacking him. It's pretty pathetic, actually. It's like a bunch of children wanting to use the words incel and cringe because they want to sound cool. And someone said it is children, they're all from her TikTok. Before she posted a TikTok saying he wrote torture porn about her, never reading the book. Nothing happened, but she put a call to action on TikTok for them to do their thing. She left a 1-star review on a book she didn't even read. I watched her video referring to Matt and HUB. I'll obviously never watch another video of hers, but I'll continue to throw all of my book money at Matt. But someone also said OP should check into her account of things too. She actually did read and review a book called A Roll of the Dice. She ended up disliking it and putting it in a YouTube video as her worst reads of 2022, like 7 months ago. And then she had a recent YouTube video where her and other authors were discussing extreme horror and the misogynistic themes in a lot of extreme horror books. I read my fair share of extreme horror too and have similar views on the misogyny, but all things aside, he wrote a book in March, April, something around then, and in the dedication he wrote it was dedicated to her. The book is titled Moist Gusset, and it's the author's take on writing a female character through a male's perspective, and it wasn't very good. She found out he dedicated the book to her, which, let's be real, for two people who didn't have much social interaction, is super creepy, completely agree. I don't know why people are defending a man dedicating a book with sexual themes to a random woman that he doesn't know on the internet. I don't care about all the BS between them, that's just creepy AF. And no, I don't know her personally and haven't said a word to her in my life. He also shared a lot of negative things about her in Facebook groups he's active in. People are only giving you his side because they're clearly fans of the guy. She did openly admit to leaving a 1-star review on that book dedicated to her. So she had read a past book, didn't like it. He then released a book dedicated to her that's sexual horror undertones, and she then went on Goodreads and gave that book a 1-star review, even though she hadn't read it, because the whole situation was so creepy that she was like, oh, this is a 1-star book and I haven't even read it. So I kind of agree. When they first said like she gave a review to a book she never read, I was like, yikes, we've got a bit of a, you know, I'm gonna have a hot take here that she might not be in the correct. But now I kind of get why she would do that, because I for sure would also give that book a 1-star. I don't know how anyone who is sane can justify a man dedicating a book with disgusting content to a random woman they know from the internet. I also stand with her because Goodreads is a reviewer's space and authors need to take criticism. Once again, also from the first book she read and reviewed, so yes, he got triggered and decided to take all this time to write a book to a girl he doesn't know. In my opinion, that's kind of crazy because it happened months ago. I've been attacked by 2 indie authors for leaving low ratings on books, and it's not okay. As an artist, I wouldn't attack people who didn't like my art. And this is why people are throwing around the word incel and creepy. I love Matt. I think the petty way he handled this is excellent. She claims to be a professional reviewer according to her own profile, yet review bombed his book without reading it, saying he named a character after her in a sexual assault book. She's full of shit. I'm a fan of the proverb, if you play with feathers, you get your ass tickled. This is a prime example of that. Someone else said, I'll probably get downvoted into hell for this, but in my opinion, Matt lost any chance at a semblance of credibility or ability to make any fair point he might have had the second he made things personally directed towards Hailey. When you publish a book, self, boutique, trad, or otherwise, the second it's out in the world, it's not yours anymore. You've chosen to make it public, and if you can't handle people not liking it or misunderstanding it or anything of the like, too bad. Reviews are for readers, not for writers. And the second Matt started naming Hailey to his fans, comparing her to Amber Heard, or discussing her or in that way, he was immediately wrong and negated any point he could have had. And taking it even further and associating her name and likeness to a sexually explicit book, that's beyond creepy and fucked up. She has every right to be disturbed and upset as he kept mocking, scared. Look up Richard Britton or Kathleen Hale. The worst case scenario can and has absolutely happened. TLDR, if Matt doesn't want to be associated with being considered creepy or scary, perhaps a simple solution would be to not do those things and give anyone the opportunity to quit that. Now I'm on a roll with you guys. So The Guardian wrote, am I being catfished? An author confronts her #1 online critic. When a bad review of her first novel appeared online, Kathleen Hale was warned not to respond, but she soon found herself wading in. Okay, so BuzzFeed News wrote about this in a much shorter article, so we'll just kind of go over that. I can't believe we went down this like rabbit hole now and I can't stop. You guys are literally watching me like in the action. So BuzzFeed News wrote, Kathleen Hale came for her Goodreads critic, then the internet came for her. So 5 years ago, Kathleen Hale wrote an essay for The Guardian about targeting a Goodreads reviewer. Oh yeah, that was the article that I just was on. That nearly ended her career. Now she's back with a new book that some say should have never been published. While literary back channels have always shared negative book reviews, dreaded 1-star Goodreads reviews now keep authors up at night, adding to that feeling that everyone can witness and contribute to your public failure. Plus, no one likes being the center of a Twitter pylon, even when it might be ultimately deserved. We're all waiting for someone to tell us we've written something that failed, and we're all anxious about how devastating the consequences might be. Which is perhaps why author Kathleen Hale has become a representative for a worst case scenario of what can happen when someone writes something that's been deemed wrong. But Hale's story is not just about a singular personal disaster, it also speaks to the nature of criticism today, so-called cancel culture, and the growing power of Goodreads, especially for emerging genre writers. So in January 2014, Hale was a 27-year-old freelance journalist and essayist living in New York with one recently released YA book and a second under contract with HarperCollins. Her debut, No One Else Can Have You, was considered controversial for a book marketed to teenagers. The dark comedy, which included references to murder and abuse, raised the ire of some reviewers online, including on Goodreads, an online community that's become a major driver of book publicity where anyone can leave reviews on nearly any book. Hale wasn't a household name and her book wasn't tracking to be among the most popular YA books to be released that year, so she followed her publisher's advice to be more online and spent the next few months writing a handful of pieces in hopes of getting her name out there. And Hale did something that ruined her literary career before it even really hit its stride. You'd be forgiven if you don't remember the exact details of that particular 5-year-old internet spiral. It began with an October 24 Guardian essay about confronting an unfriendly Goodreads reviewer. Blythe Harris, a then influential book blogger and prolific reviewer on Goodreads, wrote a 1-star review for Hale's book before it was released. "Fuck this," the reviewer said, according to Hale. This particular review of her book no longer exists beyond Hale's description of it. "I think this book is awfully written and offensive. Its execution in regards to all aspects is horrible and honestly non-existent," is what the review said. But it wasn't just that Harris didn't like Hale's book, it was that she was encouraging others to avoid it as well. Other commenters joined in saying they'd been thinking of reading my book but now wouldn't. Hale wrote in the Guardian essay that documented her obsession with Harris's review. Blythe went on to warn others that I was a rape apologist and a slut shamer. She said my book mocked everything from domestic abuse to PTSD, and in an essay she said that she'd only read the first chapter. She explained, which Goodreads allowed users to leave scores of 0 because that's what my novel deserved. One scroll through Goodreads and you'll see that every author gets a bad review like this. No book is immune, not even the Bible. But something about this review in particular, this critique made Hale unspool. So she said that the internet kind of drove her crazy in 2014. Apparently Hale then started digging into Harris's social media presence, but once she discovered that Blythe Harris was not who she said she was, according to Hale's investigation, she was not using her real name and had taken photos from another woman's Facebook page. She also paid for a background check to find out where she lived, aided by an unwitting assist by a book club who forwarded her Harris's address after Hale said she wanted to do a Q&A with her. Hale then rented a car and drove to what she believed was Harris's house. She ended up making physical contact but called the person who lived in the residence, pretending to be a fact checker in hopes of figuring out Harris's real identity. Now, Hale felt that Harris's assessment of her book wasn't just hurtful, it was wrong. And worse, she was influencing other people away from her work, which not only had implications for the success of Hale's debut, but potentially whatever she wrote next. In a Guardian essay, Hale laid it all out. Blythe's vitriol continued to create a ripple effect. Every time someone admitted to having liked my book on Goodreads, they included a caveat that referenced her review. Writing for a living means working in an industry where one success or one failure hinges on the subjective reactions of an audience. Hale went to great lengths to argue that both she and Harris were doing something wrong, that Harris's anonymity as a critic and apparent campaign against a debut author was unfair, and that Hale, to use her own words, had clearly gone nuts. And while the Guardian piece doesn't leave you feeling like Hale is a hero for simply doing what all writers secretly want to do, she doesn't come off as a complete villain either. Now, Goodreads reviewers and book bloggers called for Hale's head. When an author stalks a reader, turns up at their doorstep unannounced and calls them at work, it's not because the reader deserved it, wrote one blogger. It's because the author decided that their need to control how a reader reacts to them and their work gives them the right to violate the reader's privacy and threaten their sense of security. I mean, yeah, I agree. So Matt Shaw has self-published hundreds of books and now he's creating a different kind of drama. Here's what we know about his public meltdown. Nothing is sacred or safe from toxic behavior, and that includes reading books. Tearing through a good piece of literature is so satisfying and is often equated with such cozy, joy-filled imagery. Who amongst us hasn't dreamt about reading in front of a roaring fire or a cold evening? Alas, we simply can't have anything nice. This beautiful corner of the world has been infiltrated by some truly baffling individuals. So Hayley Hughes is actually a trauma therapist who in her free time makes bookish videos like reading vlogs, reviews, wrap-ups, book hauls, and much more per her YouTube channel. In December 2022, she did a roundup of, in her opinion, the worst books she read that year. One of those was written by Matt Shaw, a self-published author in the extreme horror genre. When he got wind of this, Matt responded in a pretty alarming way. Here's the drama surrounding author Matt Shaw. So in her review of A Roll of the Dice, she initially praised Matt's concept, which involved a character living his life by rolling a dice. The book is interactive and is basically a choose your own adventure for adults. You roll the dice and then flip to the corresponding page based on what comes up. Unfortunately, that proved to be pretty frustrating for Hayley, who often ended up rereading the same pages. She was troubled the most by two things. First and foremost, the lack of plot and gore in a book that falls under the extreme horror umbrella. It also had weird sexual themes that involved bestiality with a pet that didn't serve a purpose. I hate when I can hear an author's thoughts in real time and it removes me from enjoying the fictional plot of the book, she said. I have never run into this more than in the extreme horror genre. What she found the most disappointing about this book and other extreme horror books by white male authors is they didn't seem to care about female LGBTQ+ or POC readers. As a woman who is a member of the LGBTQ+ community, Hayley felt confident in speaking on this issue. Unfortunately, Matt did not take this review well and he did go mad. And what he did next is shocking. So he dedicated a book to Hayley that he wrote after her review. Matt Shaw's reaction to Hayley's video was documented in a lengthy Twitter thread by @exclusivepbl. In it, they wrote that in March 2023, author Matt Shaw responded with his book Moist Gusset, where he dedicates the book in the most disgusting and insulting way to Hayley, and then goes on to give his author's note equals POV. Evidently, this book was Matt's attempt in writing from a woman's perspective by way of insulting a woman. It only gets worse. The introduction is grotesquely revealing, with Matt claiming that women love his writing, as evidenced by the numerous ladies who allegedly send him photos of themselves masturbating to sex scenes from his books. Matt goes on to say that he is good in bed and describes how many pumps it took him to ejaculate while having sex with a recent partner. Joke or not, he could be proving Hayley's point further. It's real big loser energy. Yes. He then uploaded a nearly 7-minute video to TikTok that he has since deleted, wherein Matt ranted about the unfairness of the review, using the only thing he could. Hayley gave Moist Gusset a 1-star review on Goodreads, citing the fact that she wasn't going to pay to read a book inspired by her, knowing he skewed towards torture porn. Matt grasped onto the fact that Hayley didn't read the book dedicated to her and twisted it into an accusation stating that Hayley never reads the books she reviews. That's not true. Predictably, Matt responded to Hayley's review on Goodreads with a rambling tome poem that ended in an invitation to come and have a real discussion with me on a podcast anytime he would like to talk about the genre as a whole and the readers who enjoy it and dislike it. But naturally, Hayley did not feel comfortable doing that after he had dedicated a sexually explicit book towards her. He has moved his attacks to his own Facebook group, where it's clear Matt has decided on a narrative and is operating from it. Once again, he ignores why Hayley left a 1-star review on a book she didn't read and instead says that she has lost all credibility as a reviewer for not reading the book first. That's pretty much it. And I think this is all absolutely insane. I recently obviously did a book talk drama video and I just didn't think that we'd have this much book talk drama. But if you guys have any more book talk drama, please do let me know and I'll bring it to you guys. But what do you think about all of this? I'm obviously siding with Hayley. She had the right to review it in any way she wanted to review it, and if she didn't read the second book, it's because it was literally so creepy that she didn't have to. And that Reddit page, I mean, could have better takes, but it doesn't. Anyway, that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Subscribe, hit that bell, like, comment for engagement, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.